It's barely been a year since the production of Predator 5 was officially announced. The project, also known as Skull, is intended to get the franchise back on track after its rather moderately rated predecessor, The Predator from 2018. The filming of the movie seems now to be completed, which will initiate the post-production phase. This was revealed by cinematographer Jeff Cutter on Instagram, who quickly deleted this post shortly afterwards. There's also new information about the Skull cast, as two new cast members have surprisingly joined. One is acting newcomer and musician Dakota Beavers, the other is Dane DeLiegro, who has already starred in American Horror Story and was also previously active as a professional basketball player. In terms of content, there is no official information yet. However, it is known that there will be no relation to the Predator. Moreover, there's a rumor going around that a Native American woman from the indigenous Comanche people will be at the center of the plot. She has great ambitions to become a great warrior, in contrast to the culture she was taught. If reports are to be believed, the film is set at the time of the American Civil War, in other words, in the period from 1861 to 1865. 10 Cloverfield Lane director Dan Trachtenberg is in charge of the development, while screenwriter Patrick Asen is responsible for the screenplay. Providing some continuity behind the scenes is John Davis, who has been a producer on every single Predator film to date. It is not yet clear when we will be able to see Skull in theaters, but we expect it to be released in the course of next year. Mad Max Fury Road created a sensation in the movie community some 6 years ago. Its uniqueness and elaborate visual effects were repeatedly praised. This is something we can only agree with, as the project was characterized by lengthy filming and complex post-production. In fact, the post-production alone took 3 years of work. As a result, the fan community was thrilled when another spin-off of the franchise was announced in 2020 based on the backstory of Charlize Theron's character Furiosa. Particularly surprising was the announcement that the film would be released in the summer of 2023 after barely 2.5 years. Well, a few days ago, we received the sobering news that the film would be pushed back by almost a whole year to May 2024. Considering the various safety precautions due to the pandemic and a perfectionist director like George Miller, even that still seems very optimistic, all the more so since the team continues to have half a year less time compared to Fury Road. In other words, we need to be patient until we can finally see the prequel, Mad Max Furiosa, in theaters. The long-awaited The Batman will finally be released in theaters within 6 months. The DC blockbuster deals with the origin story of the Dark Knight and shows how he became the way we know him today. The focus of the noir story is not only on Batman's masterful detective skills, but also on the large number of enemies he faces. One of them is even to get his own spin-off series, namely the Penguin. The villain, embodied by Colin Farrell, will reportedly experience a similar rise in the series as Tony Montana did in Scarface back in the day. Behind the camera, the Batman director Matt Reeves serves as a producer, while the script is expected to come from showrunner Lauren LaFranc. The series is set in the time period before Oswald Cobblepot gets his villainous name of the Penguin, and in which he's done not a great deal in the underworld of Gotham City. So maybe the Scarface comparison doesn't sound so far-fetched after all. It is currently not known when exactly the Penguin series will be released. Very soon, the time for Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the MCU will be over, as the iconic superhero returns to the Sony universe after Spider-Man No Way Home. There, a number of villains are waiting to finally stop Peter Parker, above all the Sinister Six, of course. But Eddie Brock, alias Venom, certainly has a few things to say to Spider-Man as well. The second movie installment, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, will be released in October, after which the future of the anti-hero remains uncertain. Much to the delight of many fans, Venom 2 director Andy Serkis confirmed to IGN that crossover involving Venom and Spider-Man is now just a matter of time. Sadly, he couldn't tell us when exactly and in which way, so it looks like we will have to remain patient for a while. For the time being, there's more news about Venom Let There Be Carnage, since a couple of days ago the runtime of the upcoming blockbuster was revealed. According to a report from Screen Rant, the Sony adventure is surprisingly short, as it is said to be just over 90 minutes long. This is a true exception in today's movie world, where films like Avengers Endgame can keep you in front of the screen for nearly 3 hours. Regardless, the short running time means that we can expect compressed but hopefully all the more intense action on the big screen. Venom Let There Be Carnage will be released on October 1st, 2021. Christopher Nolan and Warner Brothers can look back on a very successful working relationship. Having started in 2002 with Insomnia, the star director has created long-running hits such as The Dark Knight, Interstellar, Inception, and more recently Tenet, which many viewers found rather mediocre, however. After almost 20 years, it is now time to call it quits. The reason behind this is both simple and trivial. Like many actors, the director is bothered with the release practices of Warner streaming service HBO Max. Since the publisher has released all blockbusters of 2021 not only in theaters but also on HBO Max at the same time, many of those involved missing out on a larger part of the income. The big winner in this strategy is solely Warner itself, which is why many have harshly criticized the company's behavior in the past. So much for the context, though. What are Nolan's plans now at Universal? Reportedly, the next project is a movie about a rather touchy subject, namely the development of the atomic bomb. It centers on the American scientist Julius Robert Oppenheimer, who was in charge of the infamous Manhattan Project. Universal is said to have invested a hefty $100 million in the movie, which is why Nolan has chosen this film industry giant this time around. Allegedly, Sony and MGM were among the other contenders. However, they apparently weren't willing to put up that kind of money. Further details regarding the film are not yet known. Shooting of the still untitled project is expected to begin in the first quarter of 2022. Director Olivia Wilde published the first teaser for the upcoming thriller Don't Worry Darling on Twitter a few days ago. The short clip shows us first impressions of the two main characters played by Harry Styles and Florence Pugh. The story is about a traditional married couple from the 1950s. Their life could hardly be more idyllic, or at least so one thinks at the beginning of the trailer. It quickly becomes clear that there's more to the story, and we see disturbing images that are more reminiscent of a horror flick. Particularly striking is the creepy song that is playing in the background, sung by Florence Pugh herself. We think that the teaser definitely whets the appetite for more. Director Olivia Wilde had her breakthrough as an actress on the teen series The O.C. Others may also know her from the Niki Lauda biopic Rush, which came out in 2013. How she succeeded in directing the new thriller and what dark secrets shake the suburban idyll is something you can find out from September 23rd, 2022, in the US at least. We will keep you up to date on the latest news about Don't Worry Darling, as always. Prior to the release of the DC movie The Suicide Squad, it was already clear that one particular character would get his own series. We are of course talking about Peacemaker, brilliantly played by John Cena. If you haven't seen The Suicide Squad yet, you should skip this news, as the following will contain spoilers. In the first image of this series, published exclusively by Entertainment Weekly, we can see not only the Peacemaker, but also two other returnees from The Suicide Squad. They are Jennifer Holland as Emilia Harcourt and Steve Agee as John Economos. And it's not just a coincidence. If we recall the end of the DC blockbuster, the two of them made sure that the main character had the most important information needed for the reckless Suicide Squad. By the end of the credits, they were then given the task of preparing the Peacemaker for his upcoming mission. Well, so much for the connection between the series and the movie. However, these are not the only characters we can recognize in the picture. In the background, we also see Chakotay Iwuji as Clemson Morn and Danielle Brooks as Leota Adebayo. To the right of the Peacemaker, we can see the last supporter in the picture, which is Adrian Chase alias Vigilante, played by Freddie Stroma. If you haven't had enough from the world of movies and series, be sure to watch the new The Matrix 4 Resurrections trailer in full length on our channel, which is a real must-see, particularly for fans of the first part. Be sure to also check our channel to see previews for upcoming blockbusters like Jurassic World Dominion, Black Adam, Transformers 7, Rise of the Beasts, and many more.